understand that. I don't understand the need for people to, not do that. And we are live with another episode of BS Busters. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about the Game Awards and other things, but mostly the Game Awards and the news of the week. And they're really, I don't think we're going to talk too much about the Game Awards themselves. Mostly because I didn't watch it. I had no want nor desire to watch a 3 hour plus long.
Why? Let's talk about that. Why is that 3 hours?
Well,
why is that slog 3 hours?
I mean, I hate to break this to you, but I had no want nor desire to watch a 3 hour long commercial circle jerk from a whole bunch of middle-aged white guys. So I didn't watch it. I was busy playing Cyberpunk 2077 and having sex with robo hookers with my black character, who is nothing to be ashamed of. The guy, look, the dude has nothing to be ashamed of. I tried to make him as close to real life as possible. He's well, listen, look, win, lose, or die. This guy has nothing to be ashamed of in this game. It's like, you may kill me, but
in certain stats,
I'm well endowed. So anyway, I was enjoying playing Cyberpunk 2077.
You didn't run into all the problems that people have been complaining about?
Here's what I'm going to say about Cyberpunk 2077. The game is janky as fuck. It's got immersion breaking bugs, not game breaking bugs. What I mean by this is, like, a character will walk past you and their textures don't load properly, so they look blurry on screen. But you can still play the game, all right?
I was about to say, I thought other things happened when they were walking, but all right.
Well, you're lucky.
Well, I mean,
you're lucky.
I played the game when it first downloaded. I wasn't one of the first people who got it because of reasons. So for me, basically the big thing about, because I know I'm going to have to talk about it, because people will be like, well, how can you play that game? Why aren't you mad about the bugs? Because the game hasn't crashed on me. I've been able to complete quests and, like do stuff. Like, people who are talking about this game is the buggiest game ever. Have you people forgotten Skyrim?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I was about to make the comment that hopefully it's not buggy enough to be Bethesda bad.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it's not.
What were we gonna say, Kadoshi?
Here's the thing. The thing is, this game was hyped up.
Yeah.
You know, it was an 8-year run.
Yeah.
This game had like I was talking to some people. The people were acting like this is the second coming of Mario. You know, it's.
I don't think people were going that. I don't think people were going that hard. The people weren't going that hard in the paint. People were just very excited about the scope and scale of what CD Projekt Red was doing. And I'm going to keep it real. Okay. Let me put it this way. This game is like CD Projekt Red is like someone wrote a research paper, and the actual fundamental research is really good. The conclusions that they draw are really good. The introduction, the body, the conclusion, really good. Their bibliography and their research notes, really good. But it's filled with typos. Typos, run-on sentences. But the source material, the research,
the sources in the.
Everything else is good. The body of what is going on there is really good. The ideas being expressed are really good. Just a lot of technical problems with, run-on sentences, shit like that. I would not say that Cyberpunk 2077, if you paid $60 for this game, or you, heaven forbid, spent $100+, $110, $120 for the game, for the special edition with all the physical swag and bennies, you got suckered. Okay? Now, I got this game I got this game off of Amazon. I pre-ordered it off of Amazon, and I paid $50 for it. So I have a different like. To me, this isn't a AAA game that's a buggy and glitchy. It's a AA game. It's a high-end AA game that's buggy and glitchy, which I think is the right way to look at it. But here's the thing, okay? I know that eventually this game will be patched to where it is very stable. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was like that with The Witcher 3, because The Witcher 3 had, it had a fair amount of problems when it
Yeah.
came in.
And I think this game will be patched to a level of completeness faster than The Witcher 3 because it's using the same engine, and a lot of the issues that they had with The Witcher 3, they already went through those, so they'll know what to look for when they fix this. But like I said, once you get past the technical problems, the run-on sentences, and look at the substance of the game, there's some good shit in there. Like there's an attention to detail in this game that I have not seen in a game. Like literally, you go up to a thing of trash, right? And you squat down and look down at the ground to pick something up, and you see these things walking on the ground, and you look closer, and they're roaches. Roaches doing roach shit, and it's like, my God, this is what the fuck? This is horrific. Or you go up and you see these kids, right? And you're like normal, like you play Skyrim and they have kids, and the kids are just fucking like useless. The kids are just around. Kids in Cyberpunk 2077, they're playing, and you can go up and talk to them, and they're like, "Hey, give me some." He's like, "You got any food?" I'm like, "I would if I could, kid," but the kids are wearing this ridiculous shit that kids would probably wear in the future. I'm like, God damn, this is ridiculous. I mean, the game is just like, okay, I know that once they patch it, because okay, let me put it this way. When I got the game, it came with the first patch, the .03 patch, okay? Then another patch was dropped the next day that was .04. And literally, it's already playing better than it was at .03. Like, the bugs I've discovered in this game are literally just, okay, this is immersion breaking. Like, this character's textures aren't loading in properly, so I walk past them, and they're still blurry. Or I'll reload a save, and my male character will have a female-sounding voice when they attack someone physically. That's immersion breaking. That's not game breaking. The game didn't crash. Like I remember,
I was about to say it's like a record scratch.
People who are talking, well,
just as you're enjoying the music, the record scratch.
Well, it's not that jarring. It's like you're reading someone's paper, and there's a typo. It's like. And you understand what they're trying to say, but there's a typo there. You got to mark it. That's what Cyberpunk 2070 is. 2077 is. It's like, wow, this would be really good. Like, I'm gonna keep it real. Had this game had another 3 months in the oven, like had it come out February 10th rather than December 10th, it probably would be a better game. But CD Projekt Red was under the gun, and they had to drop this shit this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, though, if anything, I feel like CD Projekt just probably is not gonna get a lot of.
I'll tell you this much: it's still better. It's the people who are review bombing this game. Fuck you. Because here's the thing, okay? If you're review bombing Cyberpunk 2077 and yet you bought Fallout 76. And Fallout 4, that's still a broken piece of shit to this day. And Skyrim.
I was gonna say if they give this thing a bad review and gave 76 a high review comparison.
If you're shitting on Cyberpunk 2077. Which, even though it has a lot of bugs, they're minor. Most of the bugs are minor, okay? They're minor bugs. The game isn't crashing to desktop while you're playing it. But you give a pass to Bethesda for games that are fundamentally fucking broken. Broken as shit. I'm sorry, I can't take anything you say seriously. And CD Projekt Red didn't even pull a Bethesda where they were like, yeah, we'll fix the game, but guess what? We're gonna come out with a premium mode that you're gonna have to spend $150 for a year, and then we'll fix the game, maybe, sorta.
So, well, I mean, that's kind of how I felt about the game. It's like, you know, I mean, with a lot of their other games, they supported their games, you know, till the bitter end, and they'll do it the same with this one. So it's not going to be the end of the world.
I mean, you know, so do I understand people's complaints? I've already said, like, I went on Twitter and a guy said, "Hey, you know, is Cyberpunk 2077 good?" I'm like, it's pretty good. It will be better once in a year's time once they patch it to a more stable state. But I mean, is it janky? Yeah, but it's not unplayable. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not like, I remember, okay, the first time I played Skyrim, it was on the PS3. I remember when Bethesda would drop patches for that game, and the patches, they would have to drop counter patches for the patches because the patches would break the game even more on PS3. I remember playing Fallout 4. Fallout 4 even now. There, you have to get a mod for Fallout 4 so that the game doesn't dip to like, if like 60 frames per second, you can play 60 frames per second in open fields and shit. But once you get into the city at high settings where there's a lot of objects and shit, it drops down into like 20, 30s tops if you're good, but 20, 15 frames per second, even on high-end PCs, okay? Because they didn't nav mesh shit properly. Bethesda didn't. So basically, a modder had to go and re-nav mesh every object in the cities and areas where it's crowded so that the frames don't dip, because Bethesda just couldn't be fucking bothered to fix the shit. So don't, like, if you're gonna hate on Cyberpunk 2077, then you need to go hate on Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 and Skyrim as well. Okay, you don't get this shit on these people and then leave these people alone over here. I'm sorry, but you don't. Okay, it's kind of like this, right? Like, I can't, I'll use another example. I can't talk about, you can't sit there and talk shit about the Xbox Red Ring of Death with the Xbox 360, but then not talk about Nintendo's faulty Joy-Cons. Which, look, listen, the faulty Joy-Cons, the percentage of faulty Joy-Cons, it is not the console itself that's failing. But you kind of need a fucking controller to play a console. I mean, last time I checked, you can't just use voice clapping to play a fucking console. So, if Xbox selling something that they knew was failing is an issue, and Nintendo's selling a major component of their console that's also failing, you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm going to let Nintendo go, but when Microsoft did it, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
You can't. You got to apply it equally to both sides.
Failure is different here. You know it.
Well, the thing.
Well, the difference is that Nintendo, it didn't fight when people were complaining about these Joy-Cons having drift. Because Microsoft, people forget, when the Xbox Red Ring of Death first happened, Microsoft fought to get that shit replaced. They were like, oh, we're not going to replace it. You need to do something different. And then eventually, once the failure rate came out, they were like, okay, fine, then we'll replace it. They lost billions of dollars doing that. But in both cases, you have a company that wanted to get something out, knew there was an issue, because Nintendo's fucking anal about testing their hardware. They've always been anal about testing their hardware. So there's no fucking way someone at Nintendo headquarters in Japan was like, hey, this Joy-Con has a problem. Well, and no one noticed, and no one mentioned it, and no one wrote it down. Sprite says, do we like the Final Fantasy VII pandering?
Can I take this one before
Go
you
ahead.
guys?
Go ahead, dive into it.
I'm kind of happy that Sephiroth got in, because if anything, it gets the taste of Minecraft Steve out of my mouth. That being said,
I mean, you're one of the
anime swordsman. So if anything, this is kind of
You're the
kind of
you're
both
the
kind of
minority
shot neutral here.
I'm gonna keep it real. I could think of right off the top of my head 10 Square Enix villains, some of which from Final Fantasy that I would rather see in Smash Brothers over Sephiroth. Number one, Kefka. Number two, Golbez. Number three, Kane from Final Fantasy IV. Number five, Cecil's brother. Now he wasn't Golbez. He was someone else. Number six. Hell. In terms of villains. Hell, General Leo from Final Fantasy VI. I mean, he wasn't really a villain, but you know, he was fighting for the bad side. Okay. Let's see. What else? Shit. Dalton from Chrono Trigger. He wasn't a major villain, but he was interesting. Magus from Chrono Trigger. He wasn't a major villain, but he was a villain. Let's see who else. Baramos from Dragon Quest, because Enix and Square are merged. Who else? Draco Lord from the original Dragon Quest. Dol Magus from Dragon Quest VIII. That's 10 characters, and I didn't even get this to Sephiroth. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not like those.
I said that I'm happy that Sephiroth. Yeah, I'm saying that I was happy that Sephiroth got a taste of Minecraft Steven's universe out of my mouth.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna prove my supposition by asking you a question. Okay. What was the first Final Fantasy you ever played? I was going to say
that if anything, that would be Final Fantasy VI. And if anything, I was trying to say that I'm happy that Sephiroth came to watch the taste of Steve out of my mouth. But that being said, there could have been better choices for a Final Fantasy character.
I would rather have Minecraft Steve over Sephiroth.
I'm kind of there too.
I'm sorry. I just have to give you a middle finger for that.
I hate.
Seriously?
Well, I hate Sephiroth, so you know
I just hate the Final Fantasy VII fan base.
It's not the fan base. I just hate Sephiroth because the thing is, okay, listen. Okay, I remember when Final Fantasy was this big thing. I remember when Final Fantasy was just this niche RPG franchise on the Nintendo systems. Okay, then it went to the PlayStation 1. And all these fucking people, Final Fantasy VII's the best Final Fantasy ever. And I was like, okay, well, yes. I'll take your word for it. And then I played it, and I'm playing it, and I realized something. This is a shitty version of Final Fantasy VI. Even back when I was a kid, it is a shitty version of Final Fantasy VI. That's all Final Fantasy VII is. Sephiroth is a shitty version of Kefka, but he's not nearly as interesting. And so to have these people who had never played any other Final Fantasy or beaten any other Final Fantasy tell me that this subpar shit is the best Final Fantasy ever is a joke. It is an embarrassment. It's the equivalent of someone who only read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and that's the only book they ever fucking read, and to tell me that's the best book ever. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face with that shit. Oh, and Voldemort, he's the best literary villain of all time. Get the fuck out of my face. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, you know, as a fan of the Harry Potter series, Voldemort is a terrible villain. But
he's not even a good parable villain is my point.
No, he's not.
Like I mean, there's so many better villains in literature. Hell, there's Fagin from shit, I forgot. Not Davy Copperfield.
This is one of those times where going out of our usual comfort zone is a little bit tricky.
Well, he was Charles Dickens. Let me see. Shit, and I read this book, but I can't remember the name of the book. But I remember the villain, Fagin from Fagin from Oliver Twist. He was a villain. He was a good villain from literature. There's there's Fagin. There's Hell, there's fucking there's the devil from Faust, which was a play. It was an opera, but still, there's the evil count. I mean, there's so much. There's so many better options. Voldemort. The only people who say Voldemort is the greatest literary villain are people who only read Harry Potter.
I don't know what these people are smoking. If they actually believe that.
Like I said, it's like people who say that Star Wars is one of the best films of all time, like the original trilogy. I mean, I like Star Wars, but it's not the best trilogy of all time. It's good. It's not the best. Um, so yeah, Sephiroth being in the game, I'm kind of like, I'm glad people look. Listen, if it makes you happy to have Sephiroth, knock yourself out.
I was saying that if anything, I'm happy that Sephiroth's there to watch the taste of Minecraft Steven universe out of my mouth.
Like I
but
said,
if anything, I wish for the, but I hoped for at least something better at the same time.
Like I said, I would rather have Minecraft Steve than Sephiroth. But then again, like I said, I hate Sephiroth. I hate the character. I hate the idea of his existence in the game. I mean, logically, it makes sense because they have Cloud. They're gonna have to have Sephiroth eventually because people love that character.
It just seemed obvious.
It was the obvious choice, but that doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anything, if anything, this is the reason why I hate meme characters. In which I consider Steve being one.
Steve is a meme character, but it makes sense for Sephiroth to be in, in Smash Brothers because they have Cloud. Now, see, in my opinion, I think they should have gone with Terra from Final Fantasy VI, and then they could have had Kefka, and that would have made more sense. But nah, fuck that. We need to cater these fucking losers who didn't start playing Final Fantasy till 7.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah. If anything, I could at least understand where you're coming from with one of the better representation of Final Fantasy. Though if anything, I'd take any RPG character over Steve any day.
I mean, look, listen. Minecraft is a very popular game. It is at this point there are more people who have played Minecraft than people who have played Final Fantasy VII. So it makes sense for a very popular character like that to be in Smash Brothers. Especially if you have to cut a check and Nintendo can get that money, that Microsoft money, that Mojang Microsoft money. So I'm not gonna begrudge them getting paid. With that being said, that doesn't mean I have to like it because like I said, I hate Final Fantasy VII so much that if it was a person and someone said it caught COVID, I'd be like, good, fuck them. Yeah, I said it. If Final Fantasy VII was a person and they caught COVID, I'd be like, fuck them. That's how much I hate that game. I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. I hate a game so much that if it was a physical person that invited it and it died, I'd be like, well, man, I hate that person so much. Let them suffer. But yes, I'm. As you can probably tell,
Exchange
I don't
that
like
with
Final
13
Fantasy VII.
or 15, and you got where I am.
Well, the thing is like, to me, Final Fantasy VII represents the beginning of the downward spiral of Final Fantasy's consistency. Because Final Fantasy used to be consistent. Final Fantasy 1 was pretty good for the first initial outing. Final Fantasy 2, they were still finding their footing. 3 is great. 4 is great. 3 is good. 4 is great. 5 is good. 6 is excellent. 7 is it's good, but it's like it doesn't do anything new. It's like I said, it's a shittier version of Final Fantasy 6. And then you get Final Fantasy 8, which is not good at all. Okay, it's barely passable. Then you get 9, that's good. You get 10, that's also good. 10-2, which is that's Sakurai's not Sakurai.
Middle finger.
I forgot the guy's name. That's Sakaguchi's upper decker in the toilet. of Square Enix. He's like, before I leave, take this dookie, and walks out the door. Washes his hands, wipes his ass, washes his hands, and walks out the door. That's Final Fantasy X too. 12, which is actually a pretty good game, except there's one small problem. It's not a Final Fantasy game. It's Final Fantasy Tactics RPG. Final Fantasy 13,
Yeah.
which is just that entire trilogy is shit. Final Fantasy 15,
Yeah,
which
this is the thing.
is an action game. It's not an RPG. Like you said that Final Fantasy 12 is an action RPG. No, Final Fantasy 12 is an RPG. Final Fantasy 15 is an action RPG with an emphasis on action. Actually, it's Kingdom Hearts with a Final Fantasy skin.
At least I can agree with you on that.
So yeah, but anyway, let's get to these announcements. All right, because I'm not talking about the actual thing, because I don't fucking care, and I'm not gonna waste my time talking about their awards.
I tried to.
Spoiler, Last of Us 2 won everything. All right.
So we watched a 3-hour long hand job to Sony and Naughty Dog.
Yep.
Oh, actually, people watched that. I didn't watch the shit.
That's what it was.
I was only trying to catch the important parts.
Let me put it this way:
I actually only muted them, basically.
Let me put it this way: I'm a straight heterosexual man. I don't watch gay porn, but if I did, I think there are better things to do than watch a 3-hour long circle jerk to Sony. So with that being said, let's keep it moving. So here are the things. The big announcement, the first big announcement was Sephiroth joining Smash Brothers. Makes sense because
Cloud's
Cloud,
and Sephiroth likes to be a dick to him.
Well, Cloud really likes being impaled by Sephiroth's long, thin sword. I don't know why. Like, even in the animes, he's always getting impaled by Sephiroth's long, thin sword. I mean, I think we can all agree, if you could follow the philosophy that swords are just a euphemism for a man's phallus, that there's something going on between Cloud and Sephiroth, and I don't think it's hate. I think they just don't know how to express their
emotions,
their need, their passionate need to find a hotel and just go to town on each other. But anyway, that's my own personal opinion. Next, they announced a new Perfect Dark from Microsoft. So,
any gameplay?
No, it was just a trailer. It wasn't even. It wasn't. I don't know why they call it a trailer. It was a teaser. It was a teaser that they're bringing back Perfect Dark. I don't trust it because the last Perfect Dark game we got from Microsoft was a steaming pile of shit. Perfect Dark 0. And I don't trust companies making. I don't trust anyone making rare properties these days.
Oh, by the way, they also said that this is a quadruple A game. Oh boy, I'm gonna watch this mess with sunglasses.
Why are you spending this much money?
Because they can. Like, here's the thing. Perfect Dark was never that big of an IP. So for them to spend that much money on a new Perfect Dark, it's going to be on everything. It's going to be on everything X that has X in it. So it's going to be on PC, Xbox, Xbox Game Pass. It's going to be on a lot of shit. But like I said, Perfect Dark was never a huge franchise for Rare. It made money, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is the best shit ever. Other big news, they're releasing a new Mass Effect, and it looks like it's a direct sequel to Mass Effect 3. So, I think this game should be unofficially be called Mass Effect: The Search for Shepard. It's a shame they had to go to a character who had 3 games, brought the franchise to its highest heights, and they got to bring him back after that piece of shit Mass Effect Andromeda. Shocking. And I thought Mass Effect Andromeda was okay. What are your guys' thoughts on Mass Effect announcement?
Well, hopefully it's good. Hopefully they make a nice apology to everybody after Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. Yeah. But we know EA never apologizes.
Well, hopefully they'll fix it. Like, here's the thing, okay? I do like the Mass Effect trilogy. Mass Effect 1 and 2. 3 was disappointing, but I knew what they were trying to do. But it still was a disappointing game. But I like Mass Effect 1 and 2, and like I just hope they don't fuck it up. But this is BioWare, so they probably will. They probably will fuck it up.
Fell from grace.
They fucked up Mass Effect Andromeda. They fucked up Anthem. They fucked up Dragon Age Inquisition, Dragon Age 2. It's they're probably gonna fuck that up too.
Yeah, brace for impact.
Look, open your legs, put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. Brace for impact, kiss your ass goodbye, because they're gonna fuck it up. Because Bethesda right now is, like I said, Dragon Age Inquisition was shit. Well, Dragon Age 2 was shit. Dragon Age Inquisition was also shit. Mass Effect Andromeda was also shit. Anthem was shit. They are 4 games in of just shit. So at this point, like, their next game is going to have to knock it out the park. Their next game is going to be the Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered. I'm going to get it because it comes with all the DLC, all the extra shit with better controls and a new engine. I'm going to get it on PC. Because you know that shit ain't coming to the Switch. Nope. You know, like, I don't even... Like Nintendo gamers are like, why is it on the Switch? Come on, man. How many times y'all got to get fucked over by EA before you realize EA don't...
I was about to say, if anything, I at least try to listen to see what explanation they have for not putting on a certain console.
They don't need no explanation. They just like EA don't need no explanation. They're like, hey, why aren't you put it on the Switch? Because the Switch ugly. They breath stink.
Yep.
There you go.
Hey, if anything, it'll at least give some people a reason to say that's okay, we'll take it, or F you.
I mean,
we're not gonna give if you give us money.
Let's keep it real. EA hasn't really supported a Nintendo system with good quality games since the N64 and the GameCube. That's the last time you've had quality titles from EA on a Nintendo system. All right? And maybe the Wii, because they also published, ported over Godfather Part 1, The Godfather to the Wii as well.
And ever since, it was all sports games, I bet.
No, they also did those My Sims games, which are okay. You know, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, when the Wii first launched, there were some really good titles from third parties on the Wii. And then as the casuals really glommed onto it, you started getting lots of cheap-ass shovelware getting onto the Wii. Kind of like you're seeing happen to the Switch right now with third parties. Like, a lot of, like, this is some cheap-ass bullshit. But it's on the Wii. It's on the Switch. Because the Switch is selling gangbusters. Also, they announced Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming to Xbox Series X in summer 2021. So that's next year. Why would you want to play a flight sim with a controller? I'll never understand. Like, if you're going to play a flight sim, you need to play that on a Dynamite PC with a flight stick. And it's going to be expensive, but it's so worth it. Then they did that was Microsoft's 2 announcements. Then they did Back 4 Blood, which is coming from the creators of Left 4 Dead. And because Valve has difficulties counting to 3, this is basically Left 4 Dead 3. That's basically what it is. So for those of you who like Left 4 Dead, there you go, folks. Left 4 Dead 3. It's called Back 4 Blood, but it's Left 4 Dead 3. It's Left 4 Dead. And you know this is going to hit PC, so you know someone's going to mod in those characters from Left 4 Dead into the game. So you can play as your favorite Left 4 Dead characters eventually.
Yeah, they don't like counting the 3. There's something about counting the 3.
Yeah, they tried to get the 3 with Half-Life, but they were like, Half-Life, Alex, no, 3, 3, say 3, say 3. They can't do
it. Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2.5,
Half-Life 2, Half-Life episode, Half-Life 2.5, Half-Life Episode 1, Half-Life 2, Episode 1, Half-Life Episode 2, Half-Life.
We can't do it.
Alex, shut the fuck up. And here's the thing, Half-Life Alex. I recently played it at a friend's house. They gifted me one of those VR rigs that it works with, and I played it at a friend's house because my PC. It's VR ready, but I don't have the game, so I hooked my shit up to his thing and played it with his. And I gotta be honest with you, Half-Life Alyx is really good.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about it.
It is it's one of the few VR games I've played where I'm like, this makes a case for VR being a thing. The sad thing is that Half-Life Alyx, most VR games that are in VR are just a first-person shooter that just they threw VR on. Instead of something built around virtual reality, which kind of
around it.
Yeah. It's kind of like how Nintendo had Wii Motion, had games that were built around the concept of Wii Motion, and then other people just threw some shit together and had motion controls in it. That's the problem with VR. No one is actually doing the shit they need to do to make it into a viable thing. Next, we have Vin Diesel is now starring in Ark 2.
Who acts?
Man, I knew some people that were really into Ark Survival for a bit.
Yeah, it's that game where you fight like dinosaurs and shit.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I know about it. And another one from EA, Dragon Age, the next Dragon Age game. It's a sequel to Inquisition. And apparently it's gonna wrap up the story from Inquisition, so I guess that's good. We don't know when it's gonna come out, but there you go. If you like where Dragon Age has been going, you're gonna get more. So more MMO light bullshit, probably multiplayer component. Among Us is getting a new map where it's on an airplane, a mega liner apparently. An airship mega liner.
That game really took off.
Yeah, it's like John Carpenter's The Thing, but cartoony and really cutthroat. Like the games that are really taking off are really fucking cutthroat. Speaking of cutthroat games that are taking off, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout is getting a 3rd season, and it's going all winterized and Christmassy. So,
hey, 'tis the season to smack somebody down the peg.
Yeah, Master Chief is coming to Fortnite, so there's no notice that he'll have the 2-weapon maximum carry
power.
Yeah, it's probably just a skin.
The world's most dangerous soldier, but he can only carry 2 weapons at a time. That's so stupid.
Ooh.
We Are OFK is a game from the Hyperlight Drifter co-designer Teddy Deef's new interactive series. I don't get it. I don't get it. It Takes Two. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I like this trailer, but then again, I like the music where it plays Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye's "It Takes Two." Apparently, it's this couple who's fighting, and now they've been cursed by a evil book. That they gotta learn to work together until they can get free of the curse. It looks like it'll be a fun couple game. Once COVID gets under control, I might be able to invite my girlfriend over to play it. Looks like it's a fun little game to play. It comes out March 26th. We have Season, which is coming to PlayStation and Windows PC via Steam. Season is about exploring a village and recording the world's history before a cataclysm. The game looks interesting because it looks like the main character is a black person. As a matter of fact, I see nothing but black people in this shit, so I'm quite happy about that. Very few games with people of color as protagonists. Looks interesting. We have Road 96, which is a narrative adventure. Looks interesting. The aesthetic. I don't know if the game's good, but it looks.
Sure, it's a. Hopefully, it's not a walk-in sim.
Well, it's a narrative-driven story where you play this lady driving with her daughter across country, but it's in an alternate reality where there's some fucked up shit. Because it looks like it's like in an alternate reality because it looks like they have a dictator for running for president. It's kind of fucked up. So I might, if the game goes on sale, I might get it. I'm not gonna get it at full price.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Open Roads, which looks like another riff on Road 96. Then there's the game that looked kind of interesting. It's called Evil West, and it's from the Flying Wild Hog and Focus Home Interactive.
It's a western that has zombies or Cthulhu in it.
Yeah, so it's from the people who remade.
I'm not sure which one.
It's from the people who remade Shadow Warrior 1 and 2. So looks pretty interesting. We haven't had a game set in the Wild Wild West in a while, and it's coming to everything except the Switch. I just looked at the thing. It's coming to Xbox Series
X,
course. Xbox One, PS5, PS4, and PC. As for the Switch, well, sit on your thumb and spin. If you want to play it on the Switch, you're shit out of luck. Shit out of luck. Sega and Amplitude Studios.
I just had a why am I not surprised tone.
I mean, listen, okay, if you're a Nintendo gamer, you know that there's just certain games that ain't coming to your console. And so if you want to have a larger...
I just have this tone that says, why am I not surprised?
If you want to have a larger array of choice, you have to have something else to play this shit on. That's all I'm saying.
I was going to say, if anything, well, most likely it's going to be PC.
At this point, like, complaining about games not coming to a Nintendo console, like with the Wii U, it was
That's
okay.
The thing.
The sales...
I already know that it's not fun to be a one console person. I know that you guys always ran on me on that one, but if anything, I always know that, and always know to take that. Always know that I will never have all the games that would be good. So if anything, I always know that if anything, out of all the consoles, I'd rather have a Switch than the other two, and I might go into PC at times.
No, there you go.
There's plenty of times where my life where I only had one console in a given generation. So
yeah, I mean the way I feel about it is like this. I've never had just one console. I've always had at least two consoles. And for people who are like, it's expensive, look, I remember in the mid-90s, there were like 6 consoles out on the market in the mid-90s. 6 fucking consoles. And so you really had to pick and choose. You're lucky now that, I mean, if you have 2 consoles, you're pretty much getting everything. Or if you have a console and PC, you're pretty much playing everything. But back in the day, like way back in the day, during the mid-90s, there were multiple consoles on the market. Multiple consoles.
And the stars help you if you were around before the crash, because if I remember right, I heard that there was at least nearly 12 plus consoles.
Yeah, but most of them were playing Pong. Really, of the actual contenders, there were like 4. There was Atari, there was Intellivision, there was ColecoVision, and then there was third one after that, but they all were basically playing the same shit. So it was like, you know, it's like, you know, it's all basically like a lot of the. It's just which one looked better, and some games were nerfed. Like Coleco is the one who published Donkey Kong, so the one that they published on the Atari 2600 was a piece of shit. But the one that was on the ColecoVision was actually kind of, you know, for the time, close to what the actual game was in arcades. So I mean, you know, it's like you kind of had to take the bitter with the sweet back then. But when I'm talking about the 90s, okay, in the 90s, in the 5th gen, here are the consoles that were all out in the 5th gen in the 90s. PS1, Saturn, Jaguar, N64. But simultaneously, you were in that sweet spot where you still had the 4th gen shit. So the SNES, the Sega Genesis, the Sega CD, the 32X. So that's 8. The TurboGrafx, the Super TurboGrafx, the TurboGrafx PC. Like that's like, and I'm not even including PC gaming. So that's 11. You had 11 fucking gaming platforms out in the 90s. So right now, it's very easy to have something, to have a large, you know, you might not get every game, but you can literally get like half of the gaming library of half of the multiplats you can get on the Switch. They'll be downgraded, and it's literally like the shittiest way to play those games, but you can play them. You know, and that's just the way it is, sadly, you know. Like, literally, if you have the Switch and a PC, you can play literally, like, around 80 to 95% of all of the games that are coming out, if you have those two consoles. Because Nintendo does have some strong first-party and second, third-party exclusives. Like, No More Heroes. Like, literally, people have asked me, well, you haven't touched your Switch in a while. What are you waiting on? I'm waiting on No More Heroes 3. I need more Travis Touchdown in my life. But anyway, next game, Endless Dungeon. From Sega and Amplitude Studios. Have a new game called Endless Dungeon coming to Windows, PC, and console. Apparently, it both is and isn't a sequel to the previous game, Dungeon of the Endless. I have that game on Steam. It's actually pretty good. Then we have Callisto Protocol, which is from the Dead Space developer, so it's basically Dead Space. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
And EA isn't involved with it, so it's not going to get fucked up. Like, they aren't going to add multiplayer for some god awful reason.
Yeah. Why did they do that?
It's like, why is there multiplayer in a horror game?
Multiplayer horror game.
It doesn't make sense.
I was gonna say, kind of like Metroid and multiplayer. It's a odd mix.
Well, the reason multiplayer doesn't work in horror is because horror, the terrifying thing about a horror game is that you're alone and you have no help. Whereas in a multiplayer, there's someone there to help you. Like the only time horror works and you have multiple people or there is if you have something like John Carpenter's The Thing, where like there's the trust issue there. But if you're playing horror game with someone else who is just as intent on you to kill these space zombies, there's no horror there. You have someone to help your ass out. What's horrifying about this?
I was gonna say, what about asymmetric horror game? Like the game that allows you to have one person be a killer and 4 people trying to hide and get to safety and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but those aren't really horror games. They aren't scary. It's the fear you have is the anxiety of not knowing who is not is the anxiety of not knowing who is the killer and who is not the killer. That's where Among Us comes in. It's not the fear of what's actually going on. It's not that like true horror has that existential sense of dread where you know something horrific is going to happen, you don't know where it's going to come from, and it's just you're tense. Like if you're playing something like Among Us, it's like okay, it's like hide and go seek, except you don't know who the predator is and who the. It's kind of like that game Werewolf.
It's kind of like Werewolf.
Yeah, it's kind of like Werewolf, where it's like you don't know who's the werewolf and you hunt people down. And the other highlight was the Swedish Chef is joining Overcooked All You Can Eat, which was actually really interesting because, I mean, the Swedish Chef is hilarious. I see they don't have his wedding ring on his hands though, which kind of sucks. But you know, it is what it is. So anyway, those are the premieres. That's what they were talking about. They also announced some other shit like Ruined King, a League of Legends story, which actually looked kind of interesting.
Are they showing a gameplay?
Yeah, in the trailer you can see gameplay in the trailer. It basically, if you've played Night War Battle Chasers, that's what the gameplay looks like. It looks like Night War Battle Chasers. It's like a turn-based RPG, but you have environmental.
It was just nothing more than a Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog and Sony. Yeah, that's all it was.
Naughty Dog and Sony.
That's the thing. I was at least trying to hear what the awards were, because if anything, I can already hear all the chaos that comes with it. At least with the people that actually care about them. I had time with that.
I didn't watch it. I was doing something else with my time, like I said.
I had it in the background. So in anything, I was trying to actually pay attention to it while not hearing more garbage.
Like I said, I didn't watch it. I was doing other things with my time. I was playing Cyberpunk 2077. As a matter of fact, once this cast is over, I'm going to start playing it again. Because I have.
Are you going to try to get your street credit going?
Well, the thing is, I have 2 playthroughs going on right now, and both of them, like one I'm playing as like a street samurai, and then another one I'm playing as a like an out of town cowboy come to as a nomad. I'm playing as like almost like a cowboy who came back into town, and like I'm trying to find something that's going on. The third I'm gonna play as a female corpo person. I haven't played a female character in a long time, but
you probably got some interesting tales to go with all those.
I'm role playing. See, that's where people kind of fuck up. When you role play,
I know. That's
you
the funny
create
thing.
a character and you can do different things. I mean, that's kind of the problem with Bethesda.
The thing. I like that you're role playing. It's just that if anything, it sounds like a foreign concept to some game types or game studios.
Well, people forget that most games don't like. Here's the thing: most of the role-playing games that people are really familiar with nowadays aren't actually role-playing games. Like Fallout 4 is not a role-playing game. They have a specific story that they want you to follow. They have predetermined characters that they want you to play as, and you're playing the story director's plan, not your plan. There's no real role-playing there. Same thing with Skyrim. People really like Skyrim, Oblivion. Those aren't role-playing games. You're playing a distinct story that they want you to play. Now, here's where I'll give Obsidian a lot of credit for their games. While they do have an end goal for you and a beginning, how you get there and what you do while going there are 2 completely different things. And you have a lot of role-playing options in those games. More so than what some people would actively say. So with that being said, like I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077 like I would play the tabletop game. I am role playing. I know that's hard for some people to understand because they think everything needs to be about what they like and what they what they want, but you know, I'm enjoying it. I know some people are like, "Oh, these bugs." None of the bugs I've encountered have been game breaking. It hasn't crashed to desktop once. Um,
Yeah.
Knock on
You have
wood.
a pretty decent system too.
well, I mean, like for the people who tried to play this shit on the PS4 and the OG Xbox, I'm sorry, man.
I was gonna
Why?
say
like
they
Uh,
those guys got the worst luck.
that's like people
they feel.
complaining about a game hitting the like, well, this game isn't running very well on the like, I mean, okay, it's kind of like this. Okay, one of my favorite games of the sixth gen was slash seventh gen because it was a cross gen game was Mercenaries 2. It was a Lucas Arts video game. And Mercenaries 2, the big thing about Mercenaries 2 was that it had environmental destruction. So you could blow up buildings in real time and they would fall down. But the only way you could really get that level of destruction was playing it on PC or the PS3 or the Xbox 360. It also came out on the PS2 and the original Xbox. Okay? The game, I had it on both, on the PS2 and the Xbox, and it didn't play well on the PS2. Played better on the PS3, and then it didn't sell well enough in next gen, so EA pulled the servers because it had DRM, so you can't even play that game, the multiplayer of that game, which was actually kind of fun. But I mean, people complaining about that game not running well, and they're playing it on that old shit. I mean, I don't know what to say to you. You're like someone trying to trying to install a game, a modern game,
Into a toaster.
on a CD, a modern game that's like 50 gigs on the CD, 100 gigs on a double-sided Blu-ray CD, on an old first-gen Blu-ray player. You can do it, but it's gonna take a while, because the first gen always sucks. The old shit can play the new shit, but it's gonna suck. All right, that's the price you pay. So this is terrible. They shouldn't have released it. Look, money, because you were dumb enough to buy the shit on your old shit. They trying to get paid, and they got their money because look, I gave them $50 to get the game to pre-order the shit. I admit it, but I like those people. I'm enjoying my game, so. I'm enjoying Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, is it the best game I've ever played? Is it the best open world action RPG? Is it the most open world action RPG I've ever played? I'm gonna keep it real. It may be the best one of this gen. It's better than Fallout 76, obviously. It's better than Fallout 4. I would say the last good open world action RPG that I played is Fallout New Vegas. There you go. Especially sci-fi action RPG, which you don't get a lot of that. Like most of the time you get fantasy, and fantasy is very fantasy can't be is never as grounded as science fiction, because science fiction, you have to have some there are rules to reality that you have to follow in science fiction that you can just in fantasy it's like, oh, they did it with magic. It was magic that fixed that.
I was gonna make the joke that in fantasy you can always say a wizard did it.
So
no, I mean in good fantasy there has to be. In good fantasy, there has to be some kind of suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, but
you can't just be like, oh, magic.
Even the best fantasy, like the best fantasy, they will fix shit with magic.
Yeah,
like Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, one of my favorite series. I has like stakes and shit going on. But even there's certain things in Discworld that they fix it with a magic MacGuffin, and I'm like,
I mean, I know this series even Magic fixes stuff, but I kind of like how they kind of went when it came to bigger issues like death and
And
stuff
what,
like
Harry
that.
Potter?
No, Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh yeah.
Magic didn't fix everything,
Because
I find interesting.
well, magic. A matter of fact, alchemy made shit worse.
Yeah.
Alchemy was like, hey man. I mean, alchemy was like, man, like literally, you made this shit so much worse. There was like, Full Metal Alchemist is one of the few animes that I watched where there was a one episode where I was like, fuck you to the villain, and it was where that dude turned his daughter into a chimera, into a talking chimera. I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah, it was pretty
like
bad.
when Scar killed his ass, I was like, yeah, get him. Get his ass. Get him, please. Please kill that motherfucker. Please. Kill him.
Yeah.
You need to eat shit and die, my friend. Cause that was fucked up. I was like, God damn. Like even Alric was like, this motherfucker here. He's like, I'd kill you myself, but I don't want to dirty myself killing you. You know, that's literally. He's like, I'll let somebody else do it, but you ain't shit. You ain't what the elephant left on the showground. But yeah, Full Metal Alchemist had a lot of their rule system worked pretty well. I think I've said this before. I think the laziest. I think that the lazy, like, I think that science fiction is better because there are rules, and they don't just fix things just by saying it's magic. It's the reason why I don't consider Star Wars to be science fiction, because basically they fix a lot of issues by saying, well, it's the Force. It's like, that's so lazy.
Yeah.
Star Trek, I enjoy because Star Trek has pseudoscience, but there's rules. There's rules to this shit, you know? And when they do change things, it's like, well, we had a discovery. Well, that makes sense because Starfleet is primarily an exploration and scientific organization. And if you have an organization that's built around science and exploration, you know they're going to find out new shit and deepen your knowledge. It's the reason why science is a great way to finding out the truth of the world, is because science can admit it's wrong and then go and find out why it's wrong and correct the shit. Magic, you can't do that. It's like, well, you know, magic.
Unless you got a good magic system that is explained well, it's going to be a mess.
But even when it's explained well, it's not that good.
Yeah, which is my biggest gripes with Harry Potter, is there's really no explanation of why wizards should be there or why magic should exist. It's just there just because, well, it needs to be there for the plot to move along.
Magic. That's all you need to know. It's just magic. Why do you keep on asking? Like, why do you keep on asking all these questions? It's magic.
Because I remember, having this discussion with some of my friends when I was younger. It's like, all the time in those books they say, "Oh, this is so advanced magic. It's so difficult for a younger person to master." And they're just kind of like, and we're just kind of like, why? Why is it so hard for somebody to learn this particular spell? Like, what's behind the magic that makes somebody who is older with more experience be able to learn it versus somebody who's maybe younger? Like, what makes it? Because, like, for example, in Naruto, it's chakra control.
Yeah, and plus there's genetics. Some people genetically are more predisposed. Like because Naruto's mother had shitty chakra control. Even though she was powerful, she didn't have really precise. She had a lot of chakra, but she couldn't control it very well. He inherited that, which is why he had to develop alternate ways to use his things. Rock Lee can't use like the normal ninja techniques of the Hidden Village, so he had to learn to use that limit break shit. So that's like people overcome their things, but there's also genetics. You get none of that in most role playing. Is just some shit that they threw together because it sounds cool. Whereas science fiction, there's rules to this shit.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like the difference between a well-organized DM and a DM that's
just pulling shit out of their ass. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
that's
not even DM. It's the source material. It's like, what, I mean, it depends on what type of game you're looking for. Science fiction, by its nature, you have to have an established universe with rules. It's in the name, science. There's established universe with rules. You can't just pull shit out of your ass. Whereas in fantasy, it's like, oh, well, how'd they do that? Magic, or the gods did it. It's like, come on, man.
I was gonna say that it feels like a mix between the different types of DMs and the battle system that each of them are working with.
I mean, essentially, but I mean, you get where I'm saying. It's like there aren't any really good role playing games. So for me, is Cyberpunk 2077 may be my it's definitely the most ambitious game of this generation. Does it succeed at all those ambitions? No, but it is definitely far more ambitious than any RPG than we've gotten in a long time. And, I don't think it could have been done had it been done by a bigger publisher or developer. Because they would have been like, oh, well, we got to add in a lot of microtransactions like Bethesda did. Oh, you want us to fix Fallout 76? Well, we'll fix it. But first, we're going to add this premium pay mode. It's like, but the game is fundamentally still broken. Fuck you. Give us your money. That's Bethesda. Plus, there's going to be free DLC. They'll patch it to be better as time goes on. I mean, that's all you can. Like, here's the thing, okay? When we accepted that Microsoft said we're going to add hard drives to our system so developers can fix their broken ass shit, we kind of accepted games are going to be fixed after launch.
Remember how expensive those 20 gig hard drives were back in the day? For the 360?
Yeah.
Like,
and if someone told you now that they're going to give you a 20 gig hard drive, you'd be like, that's not big enough.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with 20 gigs? Maybe save 2 or 3 movies? Maybe have one indie game on that shit and call it a day?
Like even movies, like Blu-ray files can barely fit on a 20 gig hard drive.
Well, to be honest with you, if it's a big movie, it's 50 gigs. Blu-rays are 50. If it's a single layer Blu-ray disc, it's 50 gigs max.
Blu-ray movies are huge.
And here's the sad thing: a Blu-ray disc still doesn't have as many features as a HD disc. Like HD disc they'll give you like, well, here's special edition. We'll give you a behind the scenes making of. Blu-ray, oh, you just get this shit in 4K. That's it. In 2K or 4K. That's all you get. I mean, I'd rather have an HD special edition than Blu-ray, because at least with HD it's 720 to 1080, and that's still high def shit. And if you have a decent HD player, it'll up-res the shit anyway. So, But anyway, those are my opinions. You don't have to share them. To each his own. So, I guess we have to do Asshole of the Week. And I was going to let Asshole of the Week go for December, but you know what?
I was going to say, if anything,
after that game award,
it's an easy A-hole of the week.
After that game award,
easy one.
I had to, Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards are the assholes of the week.
Yep.
I was going to say, it was that easy. It was that easy. I was hoping to skip this one, because if anything, it was so easy that a blind man could dunk on this.
Yeah. I had to say it. It was too easy, but it had to be said, because that is some... If you don't think that was some bullshit, I don't know what to say to you.
Yeah.
Because it looked like bullshit to me. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I heard about it, and I just, I mean, what else can you say except this is some bullshit right here.
Yeah.
So there you go, folks. Asshole of the week, Jeff Keighley and the Game Award show. There's no other way I could. And you know what? I'm adding the people who voted for Last of Us for everything.
Yes, I was honestly hoping that for some miracle that these guys have a brain in their system to not give The Last of Us 2
because that
something.
tells me you guys didn't play anything but that game. Like that was the one game you bought and played the shit out of. Not because it was a good game, but because you just that you were like,
That's probably the only game they were waiting for.
Well, but that tells you how casual that audience is. Because if all you play is just one game a year, and that's the one game. I mean, even with the Switch, I have more than one game.
I got at least 10.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of the games that have come out on the Switch have also come out on other shit. So even though I don't have them for the Switch, they're also on other shit too. So, that's kind of a cop out, but it's true. But anyway, anything else you guys want to add before we wrap things up? We got finished early. Shit. The Game Awards took all our time.
To be honest with you, I was actually gonna wonder if we should have any more potluck weeks.
Sure. Let's have a create your own. Let's have a create your own for the 16th and the 23rd until the end of the year. The 30th will be our end of year podcast because that's going to be the end of the year basically. But the 16th and the 23rd, those two Wednesday casts for the next 2 weeks, those will be potlucks. You guys can bring whatever the hell you want to the podcast. Whatever you want, your choice. Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. Y'all can talk about whatever the hell you want. Whatever video games you guys want to spotlight, you guys can hype up, talk about anything you want. The choice is yours.
Yours alone.
I mean, I guess we could have talked about...
Oh, God. I'm sorry.
We could have talked about, what's it called? The Disney Marvel announcements, but...
I was going to say... I was going to say, isn't Disney burning up in the place and people are jumping ship?
Well, LucasArts. Oh, and here's the thing. Kathleen Kennedy is on her way out. Like next year, her ass is gone. So anything that she announces, haven't you noticed that once they marginalize her, shit got better? Like The Mandalorian came out, and she had nothing to do with The Mandalorian. Nothing to do with it. That was Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and George Lucas did The Mandalorian.
Yeah. If anything, as long as they do not give her something to grab onto, I'm going to be happy that she's going.
Well, I'm going to keep it real. When Kathleen Kennedy verse came up, I wanted her to succeed because I don't want anyone to fail. But when The Force Awakens came out and it was basically A New Hope but done shoddily. Like, basically, The Force Awakens is the Final Fantasy VII to the original A New Hope's Final Fantasy VI. It's like, this is just Final Fantasy VI, just done shittily. That's basically The Force Awakens. It's like, oh, so Rey is Luke Skywalker, but no balls and no dick. She's a female Luke Skywalker, except she has no flaws. None. No flaws. Everything she does is perfect. She can beat someone who's been using a lightsaber for like 20 years in her first fight with a lightsaber.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That is, she can pilot the Millennium Falcon better than Han Solo, who had been piloting the Millennium Falcon at that point for like 50 years. But she's a better pilot than Han Solo. You know, it's fuck that movie. I'm sorry, fuck that movie. And then the last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker. It's Kathleen Kennedy has run Star Wars into the goddamn ground. They can't sell the merchandise. I went to a store and they had the Kathleen Kennedy Age of Star Wars shit in a bin because no one was buying the shit in the clearance bin for like $5 for a handful.
I thought it was about $3.
No, $5 and you get a handful of figurines, Rey and Finn and whoever the fuck that X-wing pilot is. Yeah. Like basically, really after Kathleen Kennedy leaves and the DNR cease and desist and don't talk about it after recede, they need to write a book on how not to run a franchise, about how not to run a movie franchise after she goes, because they fucked up Star Wars. And it took Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and George Lucas to come in and start fixing it with The Mandalorian. And now they're going with TV shit to expand the universe and fix what was fucked up about those movies, because they were terrible. They were fucking terrible.
I know people who really like the new trilogy, and part of me is just like, why? I mean, it's just like, for me, and they're, the more I look at it, I mean, I went into them, they were entertaining popcorn movies, but even looking like the last one, episode 9, it's just like action scene after action scene after. I heard somebody describe it, perfectly, in my opinion. It was like they were playing with action figures. There really wasn't really much substance to the action scenes. It's just this beautiful,
What was this again?
Spectacle. The Star Wars Episode 9.
Yeah, but like the thing is that J.J. Abrams sucks at action scenes, so they weren't even good action scenes. Like the lightsaber fight between Rey and Kylo Ren is one of the laziest bullshit ass fight. Like, say whatever you want to about George Lucas, okay? His direction of actors is terrible. The motherfucker can do a good action scene. The lightsaber fights in the prequel trilogy are so much better than what we had in the J.J. Abrams films. They're fucking terrible. I mean, even the lightsaber fights in the original trilogy are better than what we got in the new trilogy.
Yeah.
The fucking dog fights between the TIE fighters and the X-wings so much better in the prequel in the old films than the new shit. I mean, how the fuck are you gonna have all this technology and all this quote unquote new expertise and you're doing worse than the old shit? I mean, case in point, The Mandalorian. Most of the people working on The Mandalorian who are like at the head of running anything are old heads of Star Wars. Okay, Filoni, Favreau, who's like an old fan of Star Wars, and George Lucas, right? These are old people, like the old hands at the shit. How is their shit better than the shit where you had billions of dollars to make it? Hundreds of millions of dollars to make the shit. Because you didn't understand what the fuck you were doing. You were promoted beyond your comprehension. And the sad thing is that, Kathleen Kennedy's name is attached to films that I love. Like, films that I absolutely love, Kathleen Kennedy's attached to, and they're good films. But
what films are those?
Well, The Color Purple.
Yeah.
The Color Purple is a really good film. Kathleen Kennedy's producers or something like that, and it's a good, The Color Purple is a good movie. It is one of the few book-to-movie adaptations where, the movie is better than the book.
Yeah.
And it's really good. Like, it is really good. Like, I would tell anyone, if you get a chance, go watch The Color Purple. Like, you know that shitty movie Sapphire?
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
It's this movie basically about this young girl who deals in some of the most depraved circumstances imaginable and overcomes them in order to become a better person. But Sapphire is basically a shittier version of The Color Purple. But The Color Purple's better. Like, The Color Purple is a better film. It's better shot, it's better edited, it's better paced, it's better acted. It stars Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah and Danny Glover. Like, it's got a major black cast. It's just a really good film. It's directed by Steven Spielberg. Should have won an Oscar, but it lost out to some fucking movie with John Wayne in it or some shit. I can't remember. But like, it's a really, The Color Purple is a really good film. If you guys get a chance to watch it, go watch it. It's really it's that good. But Kathleen Kennedy is attached to that film. It's really good. And I don't know why people just, fall asleep on that. But yeah, so I wanted Kathleen Kennedy to succeed because anytime, like, I hate this, I hate to harp on this thing, but anytime you have more diversity in something, it's better for the whole, because then you have different viewpoints on how to look at shit. Like, how the hell are you gonna know how to make a neighborhood better? How are you gonna know how to make a city better when the only people who are making policy to make it better are people who come from the nice part of the city?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. How are you going to make a movie good? How are you going to make a good movie if the only people who are making the movie are the same people who make movies all the time, and you don't have people who have different viewpoints? So diversity is a good thing. But if you're getting someone for diversity's sake, but they suck at the job, that kind of defeats the purpose. And that's kind of like what happened with Kathleen Kennedy. I'm pretty sure Kathleen Kennedy is good at, like, being a manager over shit, but when it comes to creative lead, no. No. And the sad thing is that she didn't know enough to, instead of, like, she had people at LucasArts who would have helped her craft Star Wars into something awesome. And she was like, no, I know what I'm doing. It's my time. It's like, yeah, but you didn't create this. You don't get to, run something to the goddamn ground.
You can't just go. I was just about to say, you can't just go driving on without any direction.
I mean,
especially if it's not your ride.
It's the equivalent of, like, because this year, here's another reason why I'm pissed off at 2020. I was gonna go on a Christmas vacation with my girlfriend and another family member. I was gonna take us all on a Christmas vacation to Universal Studios this year. COVID fucked that up. So, like, I was gonna plan on having one of you guys run the podcast for the dawn. And that's like, I let you guys run the podcast and you run the shit into the ground while I'm gone. Like, that's basically what she did. She ran Star Wars into the ground. No respect for the base stuff. Just ran it into the goddamn ground. And part of that is Disney's fault, is Bob Iger's fault. Because he let her. Yeah. There was no oversight. Like, that would be the equivalent of Kevin Feige being made the guy for Star Wars, for Marvel, and him running it into the ground. But Feige didn't do that. Feige, like, they were like, well, where are we going to get our stories? And he puts this stack of comic books. That's where you're going to get your stories. That's what, I mean, literally, like, you look at Feige, and it's not because Feige's a man. If Feige was a woman, I wouldn't care. Feige and Kathleen Kennedy are like, how to run your media empire, how not to run your media empire. Those should be taught in business courses. Oh yeah, this is, Kathleen Kennedy fucked this up. Fucked it up royally.
Yeah. So guys, I'm gonna head out. I will talk to you guys on Wednesday.
All right, and I'm gonna I'm gonna close it out too because we're
I
at
think
the
we
end.
could sign off, but if anything,
Yeah.
I was going to say that if anything, Kathleen Kennedy's stories of the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker are being used for examples of how not to write stories.
I would say all of them.
And
The Force Awakens was a shitty version.
School.
I would say The Force Awakens was a shitty version of A New Hope. Like, why are you still doing the same thing all over again? Like, why couldn't you do something new? But whatever.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that they're using the last two, especially for bad story writing, especially lore reasons.
Okay.
So it makes me wonder why they didn't add the Force Awakens.
I think the whole trilogy was shit. The reason people thought The Force Awakens was good was because it had been so long since we had new Star Wars and it became an event. But it's kind of like that joke from Eddie Murphy where he's like, if you hadn't had sex in a long time and then you finally get some, you think it's the best ever. It's the same analogy. It's like we hadn't had Star Wars for so long and it was like the best shit ever. I mean, I'll say the same thing with video games. Breath of the Wild is not the best Legend of Zelda game ever made, but we had not had a new Legend of Zelda game in so long that it's like, this is the best shit ever. It's okay. It's better than Skyward Sword, not as good as Twilight Princess. It's okay. All right. But here's the thing. You have to judge by the metric of all the other shit cuz Star Wars is kind of TikToks. I mean, Legend of Zelda, like even Skyward Sword is not that bad. Like if I had to give it a grade, it's a B-. Okay? Twilight Princess is an A-. Breath of the Wild is a B. But
it's
anyway,
not bad, but yeah.
A B, I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed about a B. You're not going to bring a B home and your parents slap you in the face, ground you because you got a B. It's just like the overhype where people are like, it's the best Legend of Zelda game ever. No.
I was gonna say that's when it's been a drought. Like finding a glass of water in a big effing desert.
Here's what I'll say about Legend of Zelda. Here's what I'll say about Legend of Zelda. Here's what I'll say about Link to the Past. Here's what I'll say about Legend of Zelda. About Legend of Zelda. Overall, there are no absolute terrible Legend of Zelda games made by Nintendo. There's spin-offs that are shit, like those
CDIs.
CDI games. Those CDI games are terrible, but those weren't made by Nintendo. So with that being said, that's in this podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace and good